Welcome to Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio coverage of 16NTC, the Nonprofit Technology Conference in San Jose, California at the Convention Center. My guests now are Cami Griffiths, Karen Lincoln, and Alicia Orozco. Cami is Executive Director of Community Technology Network. She's seated next to me. Next to her is Karen Lincoln, Director of Business and Operations at the Stride Center. And Alicia Orozco is Manager of Administration and Special Projects at the Chicana Latina Foundation. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a very provocative, interesting topic, digital inclusion to further your impact. I'm going to start in the middle there, Karen. Turns out that everybody in the country does not have access to the internet at home. I'm shocked to learn.
Actually, you're not alone in being shocked. A lot of people are very surprised by that. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 25% of Americans do not have access to high-speed internet in their home, and a huge percentage of them don't even have digital literacy skills.
20 to 25% throughout the country.
Yes.
Does that include in urban areas, or is it mostly suburban rural? No, urban.
It's
yes.
both.
Alicia
It's both.
definitely is shaking her, nodding very
Right here in Silicon Valley.
vociferously. Yeah, Silicon Valley.
Yes, right here. And in San Francisco. It is incredible.
Do we know what the percentage is here just in the local area?
I don't have that number.
But we know that there is an inclusion issue here.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
broken down by income, age, and education level. So in San Francisco, they did a report recently, and it showed 15% didn't have access, and that's in San Francisco, where you'd think everybody's connected all the time. But there's
Yeah.
pockets of poverty. There's people who don't have homes, and where do they access the internet? So a lot of people are going to libraries and other places to get online. So San Francisco's lucky, and California in general is ahead of the curve compared to the rest of the country. But there's still a divide, even though some people think that everyone's got a cell phone, so we're all connected, but that's not the case.
Okay. Well, we all hear about libraries as the alternative. Are there other alternatives besides libraries? What are they? Anybody?
So community
Well,
centers, recreation centers, senior centers,
Okay.
other nonprofits that provide services sometimes also offer access to computers, but
Okay.
you don't always get training at those places. So that's what a lot of our organizations are focused on, is the training.
Yeah. Okay. So not only the access, but also literacy.
Yes.
I'm sitting in front of this machine, but I don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
It's not doing me much good.
Yes.
Basically. Okay. All right.
And children are failing in schools because they don't have connection at home. And they are in schools where there are 5 to 6 students per computer at their school. So it's really, they're incredible. They're doing homework. They're doing essays on their phones, their parents' phones. And I take my hat off to them because they haven't given up. But that's not right.
Right.
Also, having access to things like libraries and community centers doesn't serve everybody, because if you are homebound or don't have access to a vehicle or live in a neighborhood where it's not safe to go out at night, you don't have the ability to use those other
Or
services.
even maybe the cost to
Right.
travel.
Exactly.
Even public transportation is not free, and
Yeah.
for some people it may be a burden just to get to the alternative.
And we have met families who pack their kids who have homework with the computer they have, and they go park in the library parking lot to get their Wi-Fi, and their kids are doing their homework. Because if they go inside, they get timed out within an hour, and most of the computers are already occupied.
Parking in the library parking lot for Wi-Fi access.
Yes.
This is happening
Yeah.
Right here in San Jose.
in San Jose, in Silicon Valley.
Yes.
And if you don't have a car, you're outside on a bench, or they call them the leaners. They're leaning against the wall using the internet from in the building.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. That should be enough motivation. All right. So now the issue is that we are, in our organizations, trying to help these people. We're trying to reach them. You know, here at NTC, we're talking about so much about multi-channel engagement. But if the people can't access the channels and don't know how to use the channels, again, we're not reaching them. And we're trying to provide services a lot of times to this population. How do we, right? This is what we're
Yes.
talking about. How are organizations supposed to
Do
prepare
that.
themselves to reach these people? All right, let's start close this time. Cami, how do we start even to assess what the problem is among our constituency? Is that where we start?
It's a good place to start, and not everybody does it. They jump right in and they'll have a bank of computers there, or they literally let their clients use their own computers, which isn't necessarily the best idea.
Using staff computers.
Oh, yeah. Or you're helping them apply for jobs. They're sitting next to you and you're applying for the job on their behalf because you just want to help them apply. But what I would encourage folks to do is to partner with agencies who are already doing computer literacy or adult literacy or some way. Don't take it on yourself to train your constituencies or help them connect to the internet, but know who the partners in your community are and work with them to get them the training that they need. So we want people to be able to apply for jobs on their own, ideally in their homes.
In the privacy, or at least some degree of privacy.
Exactly, and taking their time, because a job application isn't something you should send 6 out in an hour. It should take an hour just to find one application that you want to fill out, and then several hours to do research and fill out the application, appropriately. And it's a time-intensive thing. And at the library, as Alicia said, you'll time out after an hour, and so libraries aren't always the solution for job seekers. So for a nonprofit who is stumped by this issue of their clients not being online, we'll go to where the training happens, partner. But if you have a needs assessment that you're deploying, integrate digital literacy or digital inclusion into that survey so you have some data to prove to the foundations that this is a need that you should give us funding for so we can help these people get online at home so they can provide access to their children to do homework, so they can do job search, so they can connect with family using Skype, research information, entertain themselves, whatever it is. The internet is this amazing revolution, and they should be able to join in.
Karen, what are some of the things we should be asking if we're doing a survey the way Cammie is suggesting to determine if we have a problem among our constituency?
For one thing, you need to be careful about asking if they have access to the internet or if they have internet access, because a lot of
just
people
talked about it. That's too vague, right?
Right.
Yes, I do. I can go to my community foundation, which is a 2.5-hour ride, and it costs me $6 to get there and $6 to come back, and I get timed out after an hour.
Or you're using your phone, and your phone isn't really where you're going to build skills that are transferable, etc.
I feel like I'm learning pretty quick. Okay, you all three of you, very good teachers, because I feel like I'm mastering this already. All right, so what should we be asking in a survey tool?
So I would ask things like, do you have access at home? What do you want to use the internet for? Is it because you have a sense of isolation and you want to connect with your family? Are you looking for a job? Are you trying to better understand your health? I would get a better understanding of what skills they bring to the table. They may say they know how to use their computer, but does that just mean that they know how to look up something on an internet page? Or do they know how to create a Word document? You really need to dig into what skills they bring to the table, what access they have today, and what their goals are with that usage.
Okay. Alicia, you're doing a lot of nodding. Yeah.
Absolutely. So are you connected at home? Do you have equipment? Do you have an actual computer? Is it working?
Yes.
We find that a lot of them are, doorstops, like you said, Karen.
But someone might answer that question, yes.
Yes.
We have one, but it's worthless.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, and then, your questions are very important. How would you benefit from having a working computer and knowing how to use it at home? And, I ask everyone who's listening to us to start listening everywhere you go. If we go to a hospital, if you see your doctor, if you go to unemployment, anywhere that you go at school, everything is, you can get it online. Cammie was at the tax place. You can download the forms online. So a lot of people don't have that ability.
There should always be an alternative.
Well,
but if you can't, here's the alternative.
Well, no. The idea, the thing we want people to know is that the world has gone there. But not everyone has access to that world. This is a social justice issue.
Yeah.
Are we leaving a percentage of human beings out of the 21st century? And it's not because they don't want to. We live, at least here in this area where we are, one of the most expensive areas in this country. People have 2 and 3 jobs just to pay rent. Several families living together. So when you tell them that they're going to have to pay $49, $50 a month for their internet and then buy a computer, okay? So
now our listeners are people in nonprofits themselves. It's for
so they know
mid-sized nonprofits. So they may not, but we're raising consciousness. But now we want to approach the problem is how do you the 10,000 plus listeners, approach your constituents who don't have access. I mean, how can you help them either gain access, or how can you deliver your own services, knowing that we have this enormous void that 20 to 25% of the population, which is much bigger than I would have thought. Okay, let's continue. Karen, you want to pick up with? I mean, where do we take this next? Now, we've done some assessment work. We know what our constituents are lacking. How can we help?
So I would say there's primarily two things that we can do, and both Alicia and Cami spoke about this earlier today. One is become familiar with the organizations in your area that are teaching digital literacy. Nonprofit work is very self-referential. Nobody can do everything. Become familiar with what services are available in your area for your constituents.
Okay.
And additionally, get the word out there. It's so unknown how big of a gap is being created in our population and how many people are being disenfranchised. And the only way that change happens is through awareness. So we all need to start talking about it.
Also, find out if you have a refurbisher in your community, for instance. We did that a lot in our project. So because they usually make computers available at no cost or very low cost, and then they offer support for those computers if they do break down. So refurbishing companies are important, and they're springing up all over.
Okay. Go ahead. Okay.
Low cost internet is there's a lot of companies coming out with low cost internet options. So Internet Essentials from Comcast is one that's been out for about 4 or 5 years, and now they have a pilot for seniors, so it's $10 a month, and it comes with a $150 voucher for a computer. So Comcast has something low cost, AT&T, there's Mobile Beacon, Mobile Citizen. So know what the low cost options are in your community that people can apply for. You advocate to your city government or your region to get low cost or free access in low income areas. So Google Fiber is doing some really interesting things connecting low income housing to free internet. And so getting the low cost or free option of both the internet and the connectivity is very important, but not everyone knows how relevant it is to them. So having the training is absolutely essential to help them understand why it's relevant and then how to use it safely. Because the safety part, especially for older adults, there's a huge amount of fraud in the older adult community, and they're getting scammed out a lot of money. So if we can make sure that people, once they're getting trained online, they're learning how to do it safely.
Okay. Yeah, Karen, Alicia?
I will just mention that there's also a lot of lobbying that is being done with the PUC, with our legislature in Sacramento.
Public Utilities Commission?
Yes,
Yeah.
because there are mergers happening. And the Comcast offer of $9.99, it wasn't because they were so kind and wanted to help people. In fact, they were forced by the government, and then they sat on it and did nothing. The California Emerging Technology Fund had money to give grants to all of us to get the word out. And that's how it began, by us getting involved and telling people, if you have a child in school receiving lunch, free or reduced, you qualify for this.
Okay.
Well, I invite you all to look up California Emerging Technology Fund, because they are very involved in lobbying and trying to get access to California. Their goal is 80% by next year, 2017.
80%
Californians
access
connected.
Access in home?
Yes.
Okay. What would we search if we're not in California? I don't know if anybody else, but I just got this major breeze.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm shivering on camera, but if anybody's wondering why, the air just got turned up about 80%. I don't know. It feels like the air just got turned up 80%. All right. If we're outside California, what should we be Googling? What terms should we be searching to find the equivalent to what Alicia is talking about in our home state?
So there's the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, and I think the URL is digitalinclusion.org or something.
Okay,
NDIA is, yeah.
okay.
And there's a listserv, and there's a lot of us on it, and there's lots of conversations. So if you were to join that and say, hey, what's happening in Salt Lake City?
Say it again. What it's called?
National Digital Inclusion Alliance.
Okay.
And there's
excellent.
a conference coming up in Kansas City in May for folks who are interested in this world of digital inclusion.
Any other resources we can shout out at this point?
Nationwide. I think just put in digital inclusion in your Google search.
Okay.
And in some of these organizations, CETFs, California Emerging Technology Fund, might be able to help you to say, okay, because they are involved actually nationally to a certain degree. They go to Washington.
And of course, we got NDIA.
Ex-
Cami just gave us. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yes.
happy to point people to other resources. I'm wanting to build my own network of who's doing what and sharing resources. And that's the only way I think I can get better at doing this work and to help us build a movement where we're training the trainer, because that's what CTN does, is trains trainers to teach free computer classes and works one-on-one with individuals. And I really think that's one of the only ways to meet the need, is to meet people where they're at in the language that they speak, using the device that they use, and to show them the things that they need to know how to do. And so if we can replicate that in a large way across the country and eventually the world, that's a way to address
Well,
the
and
need.
how can people reach you if they would like to participate?
They can email me at Kami, Kami, at ctnbayarea.org. And we've got resources on our website, and there's another conference for people in this space called Shelby Schools Health Library Broadband Coalition. That's a yearly conference that happens in D.C. I'll be going to that and speaking.
All right, say that one again. Shelby.
Shelby is Schools Health Library Broadband Coalition. It's a mouthful. But there's really great folks that go there too, and it's all about getting people access to the internet and why do they need to use it and the skills to use it.
Okay. All right, there's more. We have more time together, so we haven't beat this topic up yet. Let's take a little. I'll give you a couple seconds to think about, and we're going to take a little commercial break because I have to highlight an N10 swag item. We have from Upleaf, coloring. The coloring, and our outstanding PA, Hannah, has taken some liberties with the owl. You can see that she's already started to color this in. But this is from Upleaf, and of course they don't only give you the coloring sheets, but the coloring pencils as well. And Karen, I need your help. Would you add this to the N10 to my N10 swag pile?
Yes.
The sheet and the pencils go too. Oh, you got to put the pencils up front. They can be seen. There it is. Color. That's okay. One fell, six. Okay, excellent. Thank you. And we could take that. All right. So, what more do we have to cover on this? This is a very important topic. Let's see. Let's give you some clues.
Well, I would like to
program delivery. We haven't talked about program delivery. Well, go ahead, Cami. What do you want?
I just want to encourage everybody to think about volunteering in their community to help make a difference in this area. If you know how to send an email and you're a good communicator, somebody in the community could benefit from you helping them learn how to use the computer. So if you have 2 hours to give once a week, you could really change somebody's life by helping them use their new smartphone that they got from their adult child, or use their laptop to apply for a job or improve their resume. There's so many ways that we take for granted what we know.
This could potentially be a volunteer opportunity for some of our organizations who listen.
Yes.
That they could create something around digital literacy within their community.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
right. We have, for instance, Chicana Latina Foundation supports Latina women to go to school, higher education. We have a program for them. One of our alumni applied for a grant. She got $10,000 so that she could teach classes and have computer for people in Santa Cruz. So there's really a lot of ways that you can figure out how to help your community. She has now taught 100 people how to use a computer, and it was a 4-week course, and they all got computers based on this grant that she got on her own initiative while going to school and having a job.
Yeah.
And then she recruited students from Santa Cruz, UC Santa Cruz, to join her and teach. So it was a beautiful, beautiful project.
Brought in students, college students, obviously
Exactly.
literate and connected. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's. I'd like to move to program delivery. How do we start to break this down if we know that there are people we're trying to help who aren't connected at home? Where do we get started with this problem?
I think some of the things that you have to consider is not only what the community is, what they're trying to do, because the things you're going to teach a group of seniors is very different than a group of job seekers, for example. But if you're talking to people who are like food insecure or don't have the money, you really have to find a way to don't have the money, you really have to find a way to integrate technology into their lives so they can start to see the value of it. And I think a good way to do that is to not only find out what matters to them, to find some way to subsidize the program for the first 6 to 12 months so that it does become a part of their daily practice. Because if you've never had it in your home, you don't know what value it is, and you don't understand why an investment of $10 to $40 is worth your time.
The other thing is that, for instance, if you are working with families who have children in school, we found that there are a lot of school liaisons who are actually volunteers, who are doing this. They're training parents. They're on the internet. Well, not only internet, how to use a computer. So there's, depending on who your clientele or the community you are serving is, look around, because I bet that there are these other organizations that are doing the work, or groups that are doing this work. The schools are very interested in getting the parents on the internet and on their school loop, or there's different names for it, but they would love to let their computer labs to be used. We did that in Santa Cruz. We did that in Salinas. We did that in Santa Rosa. It was the schools who opened their computer labs to be used by the community.
After school hours, you're talking
Exactly.
about, right? The things are sitting fallow.
Exactly.
Why not use them? Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay. Cami, anything you can add about the program? We're trying to focus on the
Definitely
delivering
partnering
to people.
Yeah, partnering with other agencies and not taking it on yourself would be the first thing
Yes.
to do. Look out into your general vicinity. And if you're in a small town, there's no one else, you know it, good. Take the next step to learn more about other cities that are doing it, learn from people like us, but don't try and do it yourself. It's really difficult work, and it gets harder if you're talking about older adults and cognitive disabilities, or multiple languages being spoken in any one area, and that's the kind of stuff that we're dealing with. And we don't have computers of our own. We partner with senior centers, so we don't have to maintain the computers. We don't have to run the nonprofit that's housing the computers. We don't have to provide the meals that are drawing the seniors in there in the first place to then go to the computer center. So find an adult ed or a library or a school or somebody that has perhaps something that you can glom onto, or you can work together. And if that doesn't exist, then really try and build a network of people who want to help out. And so a good place to go would be if there's a school or a university where you can elicit the support of a service learning program. We're partnering with USF to do that, and it's a really great resource for us. And utilizing volunteers is an amazing way to address the need, but they need to be trained and they need to be supported. And the volunteers like to get to know each other. So having a real robust volunteer program is essential, and continually helping them help their learners. So there's going to be questions about iPhones. We'll have an iPhone training. There's going to be questions about this new website they've never heard of. So have that kind of training for the trainers so they can be really good at communicating this technology to the learners. So it's really, and then one thing that we're doing is a monthly networking event we call Brag and Borrow. So people come together just to talk and brag about the cool stuff that they're doing related to technology access and training. And then the borrow piece is saying, well, I'm having this challenge. Can you help me with that? So that's the one thing I've been doing monthly for about a year and a half that's resulted in some partnerships and me learning a lot about the different communities. So our last Brag and Borrow was at a veteran serving agency that had some computers. And so we had about 8 veterans organizations. I'd never met any of these people before, and now we're having conversations about technology training and access for veterans. So that was pretty special.
I like that, brag and borrow.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all taking ideas from others.
Of course.
Why not?
Nothing's
why
new.
not formalize it? And
Steal it.
Let's get together every 30 days or every 60 days or something. Okay.
The one thing I want to add, if we have time, is talking about evaluation and reporting on your impact is the hardest part of all of this. That, at least for us, is how do we show the impact beyond the number of people who attended a computer class or the number of hours of training that were provided?
Yeah, we just have a couple of minutes left. Can we get to some ideas of how to do it?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say for us, it's knowing what the goal is of the individual or the group. And we're not doing it as well as I'd like to, because we don't even have a data collection platform. We're working on Salesforce right now. So we're hoping by the summer we'll have that all built out. But what is the goal of the learner, and how do we show that they've reached that goal? If if it's ending isolation, so what are the things you need to do technology-wise to help them get connected so they're not feeling isolated? Or for job seekers, that's a little bit more clear-cut. Did they get a job, or do they feel like they're getting more hits on their resume? So it's really figuring out what are you hoping to accomplish, and then how do you build in the metrics to track that goal? And it's for small nonprofits, it's really difficult to do that well because you just don't have the staff to ask the right questions, collect the data in the right way to then be able to run reports at the end to show that there was impact there.
So what's the small organization to do? How can they just get as close as they can to reporting impact?
Well, you just start talking about it first, and don't beat yourself up if you can't do it, but at least try and find out from the individual learners, are you more comfortable, whatever the goal of it. So if they want to get on social media, did they get, after 6 months, were they able to do Facebook? Because to do Facebook, you need an email. And then to do email, you need to know how to open up a browser. So there's all these things that you need to layer on top. So that would be one thing is like, are you doing this now, whereas before you couldn't? You could say percentage-wise, that's an easy one to say, like 50% of our learners are now able to do this thing, or 100%. So that would be an easy thing, but you do have to track it regularly and have it in a database. So I would say don't overwhelm yourself with things to collect. Just keep it simple and start small.
I do think it's important also, in addition to seeing if they know how often they're doing it, know how to do it, how often they're doing it.
That's right.
Because if you're really integrating that technology, it's not just the knowledge, it's if you're actually using it in a consistent manner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely, I agree.
All right, ladies, we're going to leave it there.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, Cami Griffiths, Executive Director of CTN, Community Technology Network. Karen Lincoln, Director of Business and Operations at the Stride Center. And Alicia Orozco, Manager of Administration and Special Projects for the Chicana Latina Foundation. Tony Martignetti, Nonprofit Radio Coverage of 16NTC, the Nonprofit Technology Conference. Thank you for being with us.